Assignment 1, My Map by Rachel Belleville. I decided to have building blocks as my main image because I believe that reading literacy and education has started at the base, and we will continue to build upon that in the future. First is the New England Primer and McGuffey Reader. These were two huge books that were used for students to learn to read back in the day. Major researchers in the 1900s, Judd and Gray, argued about oral and silent reading. Parker talked about expression in reading. Horner discussed the 5 rules of spelling. Thorndike compared reading a paragraph and understanding a paragraph to problem solving in math. In the 30s and 40s, radio was considered to be a bad influence, just very similar to how the radio, internet, TV is compared today with students, that it's also a bad influence. Students back then were reading basal readers, which were very basic programs, had lessons planned for teachers. Dick and Jane books in the 40s, Round Robin, oral reading, and handwriting were influenced. During the 50s and 60s, that was a major turning point for reading literacy, and the public view of reading educators had changed at that time. Flesch wanted to return to the basics, reading and writing, working on those at the same time, doing ABCs, drills, letter combinations. Also at that time, in the 60s, more writing was to be worked on, using study skill systems like SQ3R, directed reading activities with teachers being the most active role, vocabulary, using prior knowledge. Teachers would then ask questions and engage in discussions. In the 70s and 80s, it was the school's responsibility to start reducing social inequality within the schools and their systems. Whole language became big. It was child-centered instead of teacher-directed. It was more of social group activities, things to work on together. A Nation at Risk was in the 80s. People were worried about reading skills, and the reading wars had begun. Cunningham was saying that there needed to be a balanced approach. And the 90s and beyond. In the 90s, the reading wars were over, and people were told to use a balanced approach within the reading. And in the 90s is also, and currently, is when we received all of our laws and our programs on reading.